All right, this is November 30th Enduro Team Call. Tonight's call comes directly from this book, Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance. It's a really good book. I think I have the December call as well, or a call in December. I'll probably continue to talk about it. There's just so much in this book that can help us all just understand not only ourselves but our challengers and coaches and I'll talk about it a little bit in here, but how to develop a gritty culture in your group. So they have a lot of examples in the book of different people in different organizations, football, basketball, Pete Carroll from the Patriots,
Seahawks.
And the Seahawks, or is it Seahawks?
Yes.
Thank you, Adrian. But so we're gonna get started. I'm gonna bring it up. Screen share. All right, it's coming up, guys. All right, can everybody see it?
Yes.
It doesn't look like it's, oh, there we go. Should say it doesn't look like it's going to do the presentation mode for me. All right, so I introduced the book and the name of the book. So the first thing we're going to do is watch a little video here. As soon as it loads.
A young athlete pushing the limits of a crippling disease, running for as long as she can, and that inspirational moment of triumph in one of her last high school races. Here's ABC's John Donvan. Good job, Kayla!
At the end of every high school varsity meet Kayla Montgomery has ever run, she has always come in over the finish line
oh my gosh.
in a crumple. You're seeing her literally at a point when she can't feel anything in her legs.
Beautiful, girl.
Help me.
The key of this paradox being Kayla's determination and a nerve disease called multiple sclerosis. 4 years ago, this one-time elite soccer player began to lose feeling in her feet and legs and was told that MS would likely leave her someday unable to move, period.
I was mad. I was really mad.
But Kayla took that mad and decided that she was going to run while she still could. Although starting out, she was how fast?
I was kind of slow.
Average. At best. That's Patrick Cromwell, the coach who took her on and watched her get faster and faster. And who was always there at the finish. And here's why. When Kayla runs, the natural increase in her body temperature temporarily gives the MS the edge again. In the last part of races, Kayla has lost all feeling below her waist. She lacks the control to slow to a stop.
Help me.
And the reason her cries are so urgent
Help me.
is that with water, with cooling, she can feel again.
Got it.
And then in her last high school race ever, she's in the gold shirt, this bad break.
Where's the bell? You gotta go now, Kayla!
She did get back into it, and she moved up, and then this.
3,200 meter on champion.
And for a final time, the finish line and the help.
I got you.
And by the time of the ceremony, she can feel, well, everything. John Donvan, ABC News, Washington.
So I picked that video. There's a much longer video. It goes along with this story, and it's a really good story if you want to watch the video. But just in that particular video, her grit along with the coach's purpose is why I picked that particular video, and how when you encounter certain people, your purpose can become much greater. A coach, as a running coach, he had a purpose. He taught kids how to run, but in this case, he become more a father figure. And it just gave him a greater, I believe it gave him a greater purpose as a coach. So in the book, they define purpose as an intention to contribute to the well-being of others. I need to move this screen so I can see everything. So as we start this presentation, I would like everybody to think, well, what is your purpose? Not what do you do, not what your job is, what is your purpose? And how does it contribute to the well-being of others? I think that's something that we as coaches at Beachbody need to ask daily. What is my purpose and how am I adding value? Go back to the Go Giver. This book and the Go Giver go together a lot. Next slide. All right, so we're going to get into the grit itself. We have 4 components that the author that comprises grit. We have interest, practice, purpose, and hope. And we'll go into each of these throughout the presentation. Interest. You must enjoy what you are doing. And I've talked about this a little bit last couple of calls. I mean, you're not going to fully fulfill your purpose if you don't enjoy what you're doing. So if Beachbody coaching is what you want to do, you have to find your interest. And that doesn't mean you can't build an interest. That doesn't mean you can't find your way in it some way and you don't have to love it all. But until you're truly interested in what you're doing, you're not going to fulfill your true purpose. Practice. This is something that really hit home inside the book when it talked about deliberate practice. We kind of can relate this to a lot of things that we do. For me, deliberate practice would be just one aspect: push-ups, sit-ups, and a 2-mile run for my PT test. So, I mean, I have to deliberately work on the skills to complete each one of those tasks. For Kim and the Ironmans, swimming, biking, and running, you can't. Each one of those are an individual event. So you're going to deliberately practice on your weakness. So you have to set your short-term and your long-term goals within each of those events or whatever it is that you're practicing, and those short-term goals will build up. And in the book, they call it a stretch goal. So you're going to set your goal up high, and then your deliberate practice is going to knock off at your weaknesses and help you reach that stretch goal. All right, coming back to purpose. Believe that your work matters and touches the lives of others. And this is, I believe, is one of the harder things to do for a lot of people, including myself, is just to believe that you're putting the right thing out there even though people aren't responding. And I bring this up a lot. I think I've mentioned it a couple of times about Eric Thomas. He was working for Michigan State. He was doing some motivational speaking while he was a teacher at Michigan State, and then all of a sudden he wanted to go to his daughter's award ceremony. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and they told him he couldn't go. And at that moment in time is when he decided, you know, I have to be my own boss. So he quit, and he told his wife, I I have to believe I'm going to do these videos and I'm going to put them on YouTube and they're going to change the world. So, I mean, that was his belief, even though he was talking to a camera and not to anybody, and didn't know how those videos were going to be received. He had belief in his purpose. I talk a lot about some experiments that they do to determine grit, and this is one of them. They talked about learned helplessness and learned optimism. So I think this falls into the category of some of our prospective clients as far as where they are in life. They have lost hope that they can lose weight or become healthy, and it's just because they've been beaten down, whether it be family, whether it be a job, whether it be a spouse or whatever. They have been told that you can't do this. You're not worth it, and it was turned into learned helplessness. That's when people just lose hope. And it's not just health and fitness. I mean, when you hear about people that try or commit suicide, they had just lost all hope that anything will change. So it can be learned and it can be turned around. And it's the same thing with learned optimism. If a person, and this talk goes to surrounding yourself with the right people. If you surround yourself with negative, talk down, mean people, you're going to either fall into the learned helplessness, or you're just going to be a totally negative person. If you surround yourself with the positive people, you're going to more than likely turn into the learned optimism group. You're going to have that optimistic outlook. You're going to have that positive attitude, and things are going to happen a little bit, or better things are going to happen for you. So a quote that comes to mind that fits this topic is, "Pain is temporary, but quitting is forever." So it's just, you can't fall into the learned helplessness category. You have to fight through that pain. It will go away. And if you just quit and lose all hope, that's going to last forever. All right, let's get into grit. I'm not sure if anybody was able to calculate their grit score or not.
I did once upon a time.
Yeah.
You know, right?
Yep, I did it. I'm not sure where mine. Let me find my note.
You put that in the comments, right?
I did. So
Yeah.
It's not. Oh, I did mine in the book. It's not really imperative that you have your score. We'll go over the questions, and all right, I'm not gonna. So we're gonna talk.
I don't see a link for it.
There's no link. It's just pictures in the comments because the link wouldn't work.
Yeah,
So I just did like the screenshots.
Gotcha.
My Google Drive link would not post. I don't know why. So how gritty are you? Passion versus perseverance. This, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later as far as creating your culture. So here is the grit scale. This is a watered down version, if you will. I think the actual test itself is like 80 or 100 questions. But this will give you a good idea of how gritty you are. Passion versus perseverance. You can also have your coaches and challengers do this, so you can start digging into the personal aspect of this journey, and that's kind of why I've switched my thinking from a fitness and health and fitness journey to a life journey with health and fitness. That way you're getting into fixing the mindset, the inner feeling, because no matter how hard you work, if your mind's not right, your body's not going to respond. And I mean, it may respond a little, but you're not going to get the most effective portion of your working out or whatever you're doing if your mindset is against it. So new ideas, projects sometimes distract me from previous ones. Setbacks don't discourage me. I often set a goal but choose to pursue a different one. This scale, all it is just it's gauging how easy you give up and how likely you are to follow something to the end. Are you stopping when it gets hard and picking something else because you think you just can't finish it? Or are you sticking with it for a long period of time? The author doesn't expect someone to stick with something that they don't enjoy, but she does suggest that whatever time period, so the example is in her house they do something hard. So everybody has to do something hard. For one of her children, it was play the piano. So forever how many lessons she paid for, that's how long she had to stick with it. She was able to quit if she wanted to, but you had to stick out the season or the amount of lessons that you paid for or whatever. You had to give it that good try instead of after a couple of weeks, well, I'm not playing as good as Mozart, so I want to quit, or I'm not going to be as good as Mozart. So through that process, her and her two daughters have found their hard that they enjoy, and her husband. And it could be anything. I think her husband does running. He wants to be a better runner, so that's his hard. One of her kids plays the piano, and another one, can't remember the instrument. It was an
It
viola,
was
ballet and viola.
and then viola. Yeah.
So we'll just go through this, and then here's the grit scale. Me personally, your perseverance score and your grit score, your perseverance score should be is normally higher than your grit score. So when you go through there, just check it out. I am in the 2.5 to 3.5 range between perseverance and or passion, or is it passion and perseverance? I'm sorry. I'm actually going to pull up my score. All right, so here we go. I got it. So your perseverance score is usually higher than your passion score. I'm at 3.4 for perseverance and 2.4 for passion. And this can be learned, guys. This isn't something that you have to take it and that's the way you are for the rest of your life. You can learn to be gritty. You can learn to say no to yourself when you say, well, I'm just going to quit. I don't want to do this anymore. And I find that's a good example of this is running. When I was training for half marathons, when I started getting into my long runs, every time that I would say, no, I'm not going to walk and go a little bit further during my long run, it got a little bit easier just to push through the discomfort. There's a point in long running to where your legs are just numb, and as long as you can move them, you can keep going. So you've got to get through the painful portion of it and just push through, and then at some point you're just going to be gliding. You just have to make yourself move. All right, so I talked about this a little bit already. Creating a gritty culture within your tribe. And there's probably some things that you already do. This book has a list of things. And one of the big examples, as Adrian pointed out, was Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. And there's like 10 or 12 different things that they all they're almost like affirmations that they all memorize and they use. Adrian, can you remember a few of those?
It was team first, and then
Once a Seahawk, always a Seahawk.
Yep, once a Seahawk, always a Seahawk. Hang on, I have them written down.
All right, so whenever you find them, just let me know. So some of the things you can do within your tribe or group is set the example, be real, how you struggle, and this goes a lot into being vulnerable and how we just kind of open up and show our struggles and our weaknesses. Foster a team environment. Be supportive but demanding. I mean, you don't have to be soft to get people to like you and to follow you and do the things necessary to be a good team. You could be supportive, but also be demanding at the same time and instill pride. I think this is very important in any sort of team. You have to instill pride to be a part of the team. If somebody isn't proud to be a part of the team, they're not going to put 100% effort into being a part of the team and making the team better. So, I mean, that's like, can't remember his first name, but Boussard from Canada, the coach from Canada. He had,
Miguel?
No, it's Boussard, Boussard, I think. Yeah, he did the Beachbody Classic, so he's from Canada.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
His team is the Dedicated Republic, and I think he has created a gritty culture, a sense of pride, and a lot of these teams are like that because he's got his own hats and T-shirts for the team, and people wear them, and it brings that cohesive bond together to have pride in the team. You find them, Adrian?
Yeah. So the first one's always compete, but the team makes it clear that their interpretation of competing means to strive together, not to make someone else lose. And then you're either competing or you're not. Compete in everything you do. You're a Seahawk 24/7. Finish strong. Positive self-talk, team first, be early.
So those.
And then
Go
go ahead.
So those are the things that Pete Carroll have put out there to develop a gritty culture in the Seahawk organization. They compete. They work together as a team, a cohesive team, to ultimately win. But their goal is to work together as a cohesive team. You don't always have to win the game to be a team. So if you're only a team or you're only prideful when you're winning, then you're just, it's not the right ideal. So you've got to develop that culture when times are hard. And when you come out of those hard times, it will just continue to roll. You will have that momentum in your team to be great. All right, now I think I didn't go to the next slide, but that's what I was talking about with all the different things as far as setting the tone with your group. You have to find your style. You have to find your leadership style. It can't be your upline coach's leadership style. It can't be Lindsay's style. It can't be Scotty Hobbs' style. You have to find your leadership style. If you're trying to be someone else, your team will sniff it out and they will not follow you. You just find because you're most comfortable in your style, how you want to do things. Now, if the way you want to do things is not going to make you successful, I mean, that's a different story. But as long as you're moving in the right direction, what makes you comfortable in your style can't be wrong. Now, if it's to your detriment, if it's to your team's detriment, to your business's detriment, yes, you need to find a different leadership style or development, develop a way to be successful. But if you are moving in the right direction, if it makes you happy, if your team is happy and successful, your leadership style, what you're most comfortable in can't be wrong. All right, so the reference is, this is the book and author. I greatly encourage everyone to get this book and read it. It's a very easy read. There's a lot of follow-up reading that you can take out of it as far as human development. All right, we have 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and come out of this. All right, so I recommend this book. It was a great book. It was an easy read. We finished it in a month. So we finished this along with Go Giver. It has a lot of good information in it as far as developing a team. For us, I believe the biggest purpose of this book is developing that culture, developing that team. Until the Enduro team develops the pride in the team, we're not going to be that cohesive team. Yes, we can get together at Summit and be all hunky-dory and everything else, but until we develop that pride and develop that gritty culture within the team itself, it's just going to be the way it's always been. And I think we're going in the right direction with these calls. And some of the downline coaches, Kiana and Kim, myself, Jocelyn, all of us taking charge and building that culture with Arnell. I mean, he is using his leadership style. He is a very supportive person behind the scenes. He doesn't like to be in the forefront. He doesn't like to be the center of attention. So that's where we step up and run these calls and help everybody grow. So he has everybody has a role, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to. So developing a gritty culture within the team is something we really need to strive towards, because I think we have a lot of people that come in as new coaches and just fall into the cracks. And because they just don't see, I guess, the purpose. They come in with kind of excited and everything, but they just fall into the crack because they don't see the purpose. So reinforcing the team culture, reinforcing our purpose as coaches in general, I think we need to start posting more inside the coach group, rather than like team calls and the Monday wake-up calls. I think it would go a long ways for each of us that are very active to start posting inside the group, talking about personal development, talking about the things that we talk about in the team calls. So maybe if somebody's not going to show up to the team call to watch it and be a part of it, they're probably not going to watch the replay either. So if some of the topics, if we can just take a small snippet and say, hey, this is last week's team call, I would just like to highlight this portion. Just kind of start showing people what we talk about and start drawing them in. So for the last 5 or 6 minutes, I'll open it up to anybody. If anybody has anything to say about tonight's call or anything else, you can go ahead.
Sounds like a really good book. It's on my list ever since you talked about it initially a few weeks ago. It's on my list now. Thank goodness for thrift books because I can get it for the cheap. So I'm excited to read it. I think, you make really good points about you have to have the thing that sets certain teams apart in this organization is there's an energy about the team. If you think about the Bombshell dynasty, which we're part of, if you think about Christina Delgado's team, Melanie Mitro's team, there's just an energy about it. And the thing is that it's hard because whoever is the leader of a team can't be the only one spitting in the energy, right? It's got to be a group effort. So I know for a lot of leaders, it becomes difficult when you are pouring all the energy and you're trying to rally the troops, quote unquote, and it's met with no energy. So it's almost like you're trying to stir up a tornado without the cold and the warm temperatures to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? So you're like trying to spin this thing up, but it's not actually forming. So it becomes difficult if the team isn't on board. So we want to create that culture in our team page. What Shane is saying is so spot on. But it has to be everybody, because you're right. New coaches come in, and that's kind of why we branched off and started this new coach training group. It's been a lot more active because we wanted to get them in and get them rolling and give them good information in addition to our team page. Because we want them to feel that culture. We want them to feel the purpose and the reason behind what they're doing.
Right. I mean, it's good to make people find their own information, but as leaders, we've got to provide them with so much of a path.
Mm-hmm.
We can't babysit them, we can't hold their hand, but we're also responsible for giving them the proper tools. We can't force them to feel their way through everything. I mean, Lindsay has her own. The coach training is exactly what I'm talking about now. The Facebook group is great. Going through that initial coach training, the Team Beachbody training is great, but having that interaction with other coaches while you're training is very important in my mind. Even if it's new coach to new coach. But having that person present the topic, the seasoned person present the topic, give their viewpoint on it, and then having a discussion, an actual discussion, is more beneficial in my mind than just making them go through the Beachbody website, and then, got 3 minutes, guys. The Bombshell Facebook page where the new team coach training is, plus the Bombshell website. I mean, it's all great information to have, and they definitely should go there and do it all in addition to any new coach training that they have. But I think all of it together is what is needed to get that person moving.
Yeah, I don't think you're in our current group right now, Shane, but we formed a new one in October, I think it was, and that's kind of what we've been doing. We've even been doing exercises like, here's this basic post. How would you change this up to make it curiosity marketing? Or how would you change this up to make it more interesting versus, hey, I did my workout. Like, what would you say to actually make it, more interesting for your audience? So we've been focusing more on those kind of like applicable situations, things that are going to help people figure out how to do what they need to do,
right.
And really kind of find their identity as a coach through the process of being their own challenger. And that's kind of what we've been doing in that group, which is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. And we kind of took some concepts from Social Team Builder, and we're bringing it into that from what we're learning in that group over there. And it's been good. I know the exercises have been good for the people that have participated in them.
That's cool. I've never made it through the entire training, but I've actually ran a couple of weeks of the 3-tiered system that Lindsay has, and there's a lot of good information in there. A lot of good exercises as far as the avatar exercise, the vision board exercise. So I think I ran 3 weeks with Adrian, and I've ran 2 or 3 weeks before of the same training. And it's really good stuff as far as the posts are already there. You can modify the post to make it your own. The pictures are sometimes already there with the links to certain videos, and it's a really good training to look at if you're grasping for ideas for a training topic. The post is already there. The topic's already there. So that's a good resource for coach training if you need it. So we've got 1 minute, guys. Like I said, I'm probably going to revisit this in December and go a little bit deeper. There's just so much information in this book that's so helpful. Just in life in general. I mean, just developing grit, being a gritty person, going